Welcome back to another loose nut printing video. In this part, we're doing the job that no one likes to do, wiring. So let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to be doing here is disconnecting most of the wires except the mains, because we're going to be putting ring terminals on these wires. And the smart thing with the mains to do is just simply put one on, or crimp one on, put it back on spot, and then go through them like that. And that's what I did here, simply just one at a time, and just like so, we have them all done. Then we can move on to our main leads for our main board. And you see me there twisting the ring terminal on. A trick, that's a great trick to know, is it all depends on the direction you twist the wire. Is the direction you twist the ring terminal on makes it a lot better instead of just trying to shove it on. Now with those crimped and on the power supply, we can move on to getting the mains connected into the main board, and it's just checking to make sure there's no wires sticking between the two. And there you see me hold up the wires, getting an idea on how I wanted to run the wires. So the next thing we're going to be doing is getting the wires for the MOSFET for the bed powered wired up, but realized that it would be better to have the wires down the bottom, just like that. Easy enough, done. And now with it spun around, we can easily get the hot wires from the power supply connected up to it, and just like so, they're connected. Next wires we can get are the actual heated bed wires connected to the MOSFET. And just simply two wires on, it doesn't really matter where these ones go. The ones from the power supply do. These are little clips that I 3D printed to hold the stepper motor wires onto the frame. They simply hook into the frame like that, where you just twist them and they lock in. So I'm simply just want to add those to the frame here, add them to the bottom and all the way up. And as I go here, you can see that they really nicely hold the wiring to the frame. And don't need a load of them to hold the wires, just enough to couple here and there. And now up at the top here, I started using the larger ones that was able to get more wires in. And I'm going to do some cable management here in a while. So now with the stepper motor wires done, we can move on to doing the fan wires. I reused the wires off of the old blower part fan. No reason why I shouldn't. They were perfectly good and already set up for this, so I'm going to simply reuse them. So here I'm just simply pre-tinning the wires that we're going to be soldering, and with them all soldered up now, we can just simply solder them together. Don't really need much extra solder, just enough to make sure they get together. And with the hot end fan done, we can now move on to the part cooling fan and simply get them all soldered up. And now with them soldered up, we can simply put some heat shrink over the cables, and always make sure to put the heat shrink on before you solder. And now we're moving on to the end stop switches, and they're done the same way as the fan, just a couple of joints, and I pre-tinned them. Here I'm doing a continuity test just to make sure that I didn't mess the switches up while I was getting the wires on. You never know with these parts nowadays, especially coming from China. Cheap little parts, they can just fail with looking at them. So now with the joints checked and soldered, we can get some heat shrink onto those, and now they're ready to be mounted onto the printer. The X1 here I got mounted up, and after testing it a little bit, I figured out that I had to bend the tab a little bit to get it to engage the switch. So Y here, the Y switch, I didn't have enough screws, but it did hold it. So it will work until the time being. While I was at my dad's work, they were throwing out a cover sheet off of some flooring, and I was able to get it for free, and I thought it'd be a great use for the back of the printer. Threw some black vinyl on it, so it'd be nice to do some recording, and I'm just simply using the wire rods off of the FL Sun, since they're there, and just be able to plop some two-side tape on each corner like this and pull off the backing and plop the board on. And so far it's stuck in place and it hasn't moved. So now on to securing the cables onto the board, and these little zip tie mounts I also 3D printed. And I'm just going to go along here and figure out where the cable should sit. I'm just doing up the zip ties loosely just to get it sitting in a nice orientation. Bottom one there, I don't know how many times I moved that sucker, probably, but I know I moved that thing a good half a dozen times, because I'd get stuck in one spot, think it was a good spot, and then it was realized, nope, need to move it. That was happened quite a bit. So now with it in a position that I didn't mind, I just started tightening it up, and it starts to take shape here real nicely. When I was doing the cables for the heated bed, I was thinking to myself, I'm not really happy with how they're running, so later on I do change it. And now we're moving on to the main cables. I printed up 2 brackets so they'd clip onto the 2020 extrusion. I found these on Thingiverse. I'll give the link for the zip tie mounts and the brackets for the 2020 aluminum extrusion. Great brackets. And now here I'm actually tightening up the excess wire from the 1Z and A motor for the movement. And this is the second wire for the second Z. I'm hiding that one actually underneath the Raspberry Pi, trying to give it an as clean as possible look. And there. Now with the Raspberry Pi in place, we can simply get it plugged in, try to figure out the best wire routing, and really couldn't find a decent one. After a while it just, sit like that, whatever. And just trying to think how to get the cables from the print head over, and I thought, why don't I just use a Bowden tube? So I just simply designed up that little bracket to hold the Bowden tube, and I still have to figure something out for the tool head. But yeah, that's not how it's going to run over from the tool head to the backside. And you guys see me do that wire routing on the FL Sun before I did the conversion. So I just simply did it off camera. And you can see that I did the temperature sensing cartridge separately, so I can pull them off. But that's it. That's all, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. See you again, and have a great one.